Welcome to the latest episode of the B Movie Club. I'm your host Kevin. This week we're going to be talking about the 1983 comedy Strange Brew, also known as The Adventures of Bob and Doug McKenzie, starring Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas. If this is the first time joining us. B Movie Club is like a book club where we discuss whatever random movie comes to my mind. I'll post it on Facebook, I'll post it on Twitter. You can send in your favorite questions, comments, favorite scenes, favorite quotes from the movie, and we'll talk about it on the show. Strange Brew. Basically what this is about is you have these two hicks, essentially, from Canada, who, while trying to defraud the local beer manufacturer into getting some free beer, discover a plot to, stay with me, take over the world through some tainted beer. Yeah. Basically, there was a murder. The owner of the company was killed, and his brother took over along with the evil mastermind, the brewmaster Smith, who's put some chemical in it that allows the people to be, basically mind controlled. So there you go. For those of you guys who haven't seen Strange Brew, this may sound totally bizarre, and believe me, it is, but it's also a comedy. When I was researching about this, basically I found out the history of the characters Bob and Doug McKenzie. They were on SCTV, which was kind of a comedy show for those of you guys who aren't aware of it, kind of a Saturday Night Live kind of thing. Basically, what they found out was, these are Canadian actors, and to have a show in Canada, they have certain rules. They require a certain amount of obviously Canadian content. So the writers of SCTV and Dave Thomas and Rick Moranis were kind of irritated by this. So it was kind of a joke and it was kind of a protest. They came up with these characters who exemplify all the negative stereotypes of the Canadian people. They're drinking beer all the time. Everything is A, and take off, you hoser. Beauty A. So it's a lot of it's a lot of the dialect they use, and they're kind of dim-witted and kind of goofy. So they were just kind of like, hey, you want obviously Canadian content, here you go. And in a way it kind of backfired because the Canadians loved it. They thought it was the funniest thing in the world. So it became a hit, and these guys turned around, and obviously they had a recurring... It was almost like... Wayne's World before Wayne's World, in the sense that it was like these two goofballs having their own show and talking about kind of nonsense. And because it was such a big hit, they released an album where they sang like their own crazy version of the 12 Days of Christmas. They sang a song with Geddy Lee from Rush, the big Canadian group. And so it was such a hit, now they decided to do this movie. While I was researching this, I also found out that the basic plot for Strange Brew, if you can believe it, is taken from Hamlet. Yes, like I said. Strange. Again, the name of the brewery is Elsinore Brewery, which is also the name of Hamlet's castle in Hamlet. In Hamlet, for those of you guys who aren't aware of it, Hamlet's father was killed, and his uncle married his mother, and then Hamlet's father's ghost comes back and talks to him. That all happens in Strange Brew. Yeah. Like I said, the father was killed, the uncle marries the mother, and Yeah. The the ghostly father shows up and kind of helps them get to the bottom of the crime. So there you have it. It's funny because they have all the crazy Canadian stereotypes. The movie takes place in Canada, as you might imagine. It was actually filmed in Canada. No one else says "hey." None of the other characters. No one else says "hey, take off, you hoser." Just these two guys. When it came out, it became the #1 movie in Canada. So there you go. Good times. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. It's juvenile. It is silly. Definitely not highbrow humor, but it definitely gives you a few laughs. My one Canadian subscriber responded that she thought this movie was a documentary. So there you go. Good times had by all. It received a 70% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. So there you go. It is streaming instantly on Netflix, even now. So if you haven't seen it, get to your computer, get to your Xbox or your Roku, and watch Strange Brew, also known as The Adventures of Bob and Doug McKenzie. I think they hoped that they'd be able to spin this off into, some sequels. But I think about this time, Rick Moranis started to get like higher roles. I mean, he was in Ghostbusters after this. He was in. I guess that was about it. No, he did some other things. It would just take me a minute to think about it. He was in Little Shop of Horrors. There you go. So again, if you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch it. It's good. It's an hour and a half. It's better than digging ditches. Okay. Anyway, next week I will be doing the horror classic. Well, I don't know if it's classic. From the 90s. I'm going back to the 90s. The People Under the Stairs, directed by Wes Craven. So there you go. That is streaming instantly on Netflix. You can rush out and see it and send me your questions and comments. I'm on Twitter at KD9575. You can also post on my YouTube page or post on Facebook. I'd love to hear your feedback. As you know, I end every episode with a totally out of context quote. And from Strange Brew, here it is. Oh, my burps are giving me whiplash, eh? Very good. Thank you for joining us. Have a good one. Happy New Year. Be well.